momento
y a
el
mí
3 y luego el
me
10.
está un coñazo el ministerio terrorífico.
Sí.
Y quería hablar con vos.
Sí. Okay. Welcome everyone to one of the first events that we're having in the Spanish Pavilion. And today we're actually going to be talking about nature-based solutions on the coast, opportunity for adaptation. And I'm very proud to have an extraordinary panel showing the huge innovation that we have in Spain in three regions. But first of all, I want to actually explain why we're here and why what these regions are doing is so important at the moment for the global goal on adaptation. We want to promote the collaboration and learning through the exchange of good practices, identifying barriers and synergies on natural-based solutions for coastal adaptation, mainly coastal marshes, wetlands, beaches. In the framework of the ecosystem-based adaptation, this is actually very, very pertinent. To this end, short videos will be presented from these regions and the actions that have been taken, funded by the PIMA Adapta. And at the moment, it's important because all coastal autonomous communities, which is the Spanish regions, have developed a vulnerability and risk analysis of their coast through the PIMA Adapta Costa, financed through the MITECO. In the context of the current negotiations in the global goal on adaptation, we already know that adaptation measures require a local approach and depend on various factors. Specifically, for example, the type of environment, in particular marshes, dunes, but also, of course, how they interact with the built environment, the urban, industrial, and urban beaches. Or, for example, as defense infrastructures. We understand now that green infrastructure is going to be a huge ally as we have to adapt to climate change because the impacts are already here. So we're proud to say that these regions are leading the way, many of them implementing adaptation measures with different levels of governance, using planning, regulation, impact assessments, pilot projects to actually demonstrate, as we just saw in the earlier event that we had here, that action is now needed, and at the same time, direct measures on specific hotspots. And these regions in particular have a lot of people that basically live on the coast and are exposed to the impacts of climate change on the coast. So I'm going to introduce the speakers in our panel. And again, I was actually really impressed because it kind of gives me faith on the high level of training and experience that we have at the senior level in our regions. And I think that's actually reassuring from the point of view of civil society. Adolfo Uriarte Villalba. He has a BSc in geology in the University of the Basque Country, a PhD in oceanography from the University of Southampton, and also he has worked in the ASTI Foundation for almost 30 years as scientific director and business director for the last period. He has participated in many projects, both at the national and the international level, especially in coastal management, and is author of multiple scientific and technical national and international publications, as well as many technical reports and international congresses. Currently, he holds the position of Director of Natural Heritage and Climate Change at the Basque government, being responsible for the coordination of the environmental policy in relation to climate change, preparing studies, reports, plans, and strategies aimed at defining his objectives of helping his region to adapt to climate change and to mitigate. On the other hand, we have Mireia Boya Busquets. She also has a PhD in environmental design from the University of Montreal, a bachelor's degree in environmental sciences from the Autonomous University of Barcelona, and a master's degree in landscape design also from Montreal. She has taught classes in applied ecology at the School of Landscape Architecture at the University of Montreal, and she has also coordinated master's degree in management and international in the landscape of the Autonomous University of Barcelona. She's an associate professor at Pompeu Fabra University and has collaborated with the General Director of Architecture. She is currently General Director of Environmental Quality and Climate Change at the Department of Climate Action, Food and Rural Agenda of the Generalitat of Catalonia. Welcome.
Thank you.
We also have Maria López Sanchís. She's born in Cádiz. She holds a degree in chemical engineering and a master in the integrated water cycle, water engineering and water management. She began her professional career as a researcher, moving to the private sector in 2023, where she worked as technical manager and supervisor of different urban services. Since 2013, she has been dedicated to environmental consulting, implementing projects, and then currently, she's actually, important also, she also was part of the Andalusian Women Entrepreneurs in the Environmental Sector. She is currently the Director General of Environmental Quality and Climate Change. So I think this is important that we actually read the bios, because these are the people that are taking decisions, and I think as we can see, they're very, very highly prepared for addressing these challenges. So now we're going to project 2 short videos that basically will kind of give us an insight into the kind of problems that as kind of decision makers they have to deal with in relation to adapting to climate change. And then later on we will actually address with them the results of this program on adapting the coast. So if we could have the 2 videos, please. Okay, so I think what you said, the second video, because it had no subtitles. I think Mireia can explain maybe a little bit on the video, and then we'll go into the
Catalonia in
questions.
2020, the effects of the storm Gloria in the coastline and the north of Barcelona was there.
Yeah. So what we saw, I mean, we received a number of videos from Catalonia, and they were all incredibly impressive in terms of the damages caused on the coast due to climate change, which in a way, those images in a way, I think show why we're having this panel. You know, the need to take action. So with that, I think the first question, I'll go one question and I'll ask all of you to in turn to give your opinion. We understand that you've all undertaken risk and vulnerability analysis following a common methodology. And I think what we want to draw from is your experience. And I would actually want, in turn, maybe we start with you, Mireia, on what are the main results and tools that came out from this analysis. And also, how have you shared this knowledge? And also, what do you think, how could it be shared in the future? Thinking also of what you've done, but also looking to the future.
Okay, in Catalonia, the main tools have been mostly three, the main. Firstly, the creation of a viewer to make the cartographic information available and to public on the impacts of climate change, of the coastal dynamics of the Catalan coast. This tool is based on climate change projections. Then, what can we see in this tool? It's very interesting. You can check it in internet. We can visualize the rise in sea level in all the Catalan coast and the impact of the extreme weather events like this one we have seen in the video. These impacts, the major part of these impacts are on very builded areas of the Mediterranean coast, the Catalan coast, and we can see the impact in infrastructures and housing. Then we can predict what will happen in 2030 or 2050 in these areas with the rise of the sea level. And we can see that most of the harbors and the promenades, the maritime promenades, will be under the sea level, or for example, the R3 train, the Renfe, will disappear. Then we have to invest, we know we have to invest to put the buildings, the hotels, the campings and all the infrastructures who are too closer to the line coast, we have to put somewhere else. Secondly, the second tool is the generation, the acquisition and the compilation of the information necessary to prepare detailed studies of sectoral vulnerability and risk. This is very important, no? Sectoral for infrastructures, but also for different economic activities. We have some in companies, industries near the coastline, not only the harbors, but for example, the petrochemical complex in Tarragona, the biggest one in the south of Europe, is very close to the coastline. And in the viewer, we can see that we have to act to protect the companies. And the last one is the preparation of plans for adapting to climate change in 10 ports and 13 maritime promenades, representative of the Catalan coastline. This was financed by the Prima Adaptacostas, but we have more ports and promenades than the Catalan government have been extended to another 33 ports and 23 maritime promenades, financed by the Catalan Climate Fund, which is funded by the CO2 tax we have in Catalonia. Then, dissemination of this knowledge. Okay, all this, the tool, the viewer, we develop with the, in collaboration with the Geological and Cartographic Institute and the Coastal Service of the Government of Catalonia and the public company of Puertos de la Generalitat. That means that, they are fully familiar with this tool and they use to implement, directly apply for these public policies that they made. But in fact, and linked to the video of Gloria Storm in 2020, the repair of some Catalan ports as a result of Storm Gloria damages has taken into account the measures contained in the adaptation plans of the ports we have studied. Then it's a reality, no?
So I think what I'm hearing, which I think is very important, is that thanks to this program, basically, you've been able to understand really your risks and also for your key economic sectors in your region and in a way adapt and take measures. And also what I think also I take away is that it's done in a way that is also for the wider, beyond the decision makers, that actually the actors, the sectors can actually see what could happen if actions are not taken. So I think that's actually a very important kind of approach to adapt to climate change. So now I turn to Maria. So could you share with us also what you've been doing in Andalusia?
Okay, first of all, excuse us for the video. We have had technical problems, but, well, I will try to solve that with my words. I would like also to thank the opportunity to share what we are doing in Andalusia and also learn about what other regions are doing in this topic, in adaptation in the coast. But to put in context, I would like to tell you a few details about Andalusia. We are a very big region in the south of Spain, severely affected by the climate change. We are more than 8 million of citizens and we have 1,000 kilometers of coast. Also, 186 municipalities are in the coast. Also in the coast we have most of our main economic sectors. We are talking about fishery and the associated industry, tourism, with all the associated infrastructure needed to supply all the services in that industry, and also the logistic and port activity. No, we have 60 port infrastructure in our coast. Also, our two industry focus in Algeciras and in Huelva is just in the coastline. Also, in our coast we have natural treasures, National Park of Doñana, Natural Park of Cava de Gata, natural beaches in Cádiz, and in all around our coastline. So we are very concerned and committed to preserve both economic and natural sectors. For all that, we have worked in several tools. Our main tool is our Andalusian Climate Action Plan, where we have seen in the diagnosis that our coastline are in the top front of risk. So in the program we have developed several strategic lines to adapt all that infrastructure and to avoid the danger. No? Also, we have developed the PIMA Adaptacostas, and in that work we have developed, first of all, for a georeferenced database with all the information of climate, with all the information about the historical floods that we have suffered. Another database about environmental information, threatened species, protected areas, ecosystem. Another one about topographic information with all the bathymetries and the position of our municipalities and the infrastructures. And finally, all the information, another database about our socioeconomic sector affected and located in the coast. With all that information, we have done a study of vulnerability, applying the methodology of the EPPC, and we have had several conclusions. The main one are that our our economic sectors are affected by the erosion and by the floods, and the natural sector are mainly affected by the changes of temperature of the sea and the sea level, no? The rising of the sea level. The study's conclusion is a brief summary of the flooded area in municipalities to quantify coastal flooding, the result of erosion linked with different flood scenario, quantifying the loss of beach area and the sand, and the changes in the estuary morphology. We have the Guadalquivir estuary also affected by the climate change and considered also coast because it is maritime terrestrial public domain, so it is also coast in about managed effect. No? All that we have shared all that information, making 3 viewers that we have published in our website, in the Andalusian website, Andalusia Climate Change website, available and opened for all the publics, and we have the viewer of hazard, impact and risk with all this information.
Thank you very much. So I think I hear kind of like similarities and differences. I think is very, very interesting. I think a similarity is the key role of information, and also I think it's impressive to see kind of like a real kind of move forward in terms of open government or kind of sharing that information so that this, those affected can actually act. I think it's also interesting you mentioned sediments, as kind of like understanding also natural processes and how they're impacted by climate change, and therefore as something to kind of monitor to also possibly be an ally. A good management of sediments, when you're talking about coast, is going to be fundamental. And also that, from what I hear, it's helped you kind of really identify the sectors that, and again, like with Mireia, are key to your economy, tourism, or fishing, and you can then take action to kind of help them to adapt and prepare better. So now moving on to Adolfo and the Basque Country. What can you share with us about?
Well, we've heard already some examples, and we don't differ very much from what we've done in the Basque Country. I would like to say 2 things. First of all, the one related to the video, because it looked like a touristic video. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not. There are some implementations that we have done after this great work that I think that should be put forward. I mean, we have to show the rest of the world that we have managed in Spain to get to use the same methodology to analyze the different impacts that we are going to suffer in our coasts.
Yeah.
And I think this work has been really in detail, so it's very thorough, the analysis that each one of the communities have done. We know exactly, each one of the regions in Spain, we know exactly where we need to put now the effort to protect our coast. Yeah. We've done a very, very thorough vulnerability analysis, and I think that we should be proud, actually, from what we have, the tool that we have, and how we can share now experiences with all this. Actually, this was one of our ideas when we put forward the idea to bring this here in the Spanish pavilion, and to show the rest of the people and the rest of the countries that it's possible with the same methodology to do a thorough analysis and to know exactly where we will have problems in the future, and how we are going to try to find some solutions if possible, or take the different decisions that we will need to take as well in the future, right? And once I've said this, we of course have produced again a viewer where we have got in detail the different scenarios, 2030, 2050, 2100, and we know with different RCPs where we are going to stay in the future, right? So for us, we are not a touristic like Andalusia, or not touristic community, but we have got a strong touristic component. But we suffer, and our beaches are going to suffer as well tremendously. We have found out that 15% of our beaches will be lost by 2050, and approximately between 30 and 60% of our beaches by 2100 will disappear.
Yeah.
So for us, it's critical to take decisions now on what's going to happen, and not only because of the touristic impact, but as well on the coastal defense.
Yeah.
We've got some villages like Farauz that you have found it in the videos, that the promenade is just affected already by severe storms, and where we get real problems. We need to take some action now, immediately, because otherwise in the future it's going to be very expensive to take decisions. And you can imagine not only economic but as well social cost that we will have to take. So in general, I think that, well, I would like to leave it here and continue it later, but I think that we should be proud of what has been done. We've got a very strong methodology, and we have shared this among all of us, and we know now where we are.
Yeah, and I think this time the Spanish Pavilion wants to kind of, in a way, share our experiences for others, as Adolfo was saying. I think it's very interesting what's coming out from here because, of course, one of the key areas that is going to be looked at while we're here is the global goal on adaptation. And this idea that, in a way, there has this common methodology, which could be emerging from this global goal on adaptation, but then it has to be kind of tailored for the specific needs and context at the local and regional level where the impacts are going to be. So I think, again, I fully agree that this is actually interesting to see that you're moving forward, that you actually now have been able to move forward. So based on that, the second question, and I definitely need to get to the third one because we're looking to the future and what your ask to this program to continue and support you. But the second question is, what kind of good practices could you share, Mireia? And maybe we need to go a bit faster on this one. What good practices, and also what were the main barriers, and also, even more important, the opportunities that you see going forward from your experience in the PIMA Adapta Costas?
I think all the autonomous communities, we have the data and we have the scenarios and we know what we have to do. And most of us, we have tested in some projects, some nature-based solutions. Then I think the main barrier we have detected is the consideration by certain sectors of the society that the waterfront, the coastline, is just one more area for urban planning, not for the natural conservation of some parts of this waterfront. That means that they have a little regard for its natural character and the natural dynamics of some parts of the coastal line. For example, many tourist municipalities in Catalonia continue to replace, and Adolfo talked about that, continue to replace the sand on the beaches every year. And when we know that the natural dynamics of the storms mean that the sand periodically disappears, then that means it's cultural, it's sociocultural thinking. That means that in terms of adapting to climate change, these contributions are not economically sustainable. No? And the main barrier, I think, is cultural, in a local level. Another barrier is another important barrier is the multiplicity of different administrations in the same area. The national, the autonomous communities, and the local, because the municipalities have things to say, in their territories. And for example, a clear example of that idea is the slowness in resolving the vulnerability of Delta del Ebro zone in Catalonia, one of the most dangerous zones by climate change effects. And part of the responsibility is that the state is taking too long to act. We have the data, we know what to do, but it's not only our responsibility. We need to go with the states, with local municipalities, because if we don't act together, we don't act.
Yeah. So it's a case of shared responsibility and the needs you have that these administrations move forward. Thank you very much. Maria.
Well, in my opinion, our Andalusian Climate Action Plan is a good practice. This planification tool have 3 programs, different programs: energy mitigation and energy transition, adaptation, and communication. The first develop of this planification for the years 21 and 22, we have compiled 119 different measures with a budget associated of 1.7 million euros that from the regional government we are carrying actually on. Most of them are adaptation measures. So we have identified what we are doing and compared with where we want to go, where are the lacks, no? But we have seen that we are doing a lot. And a lot in adaptation. I found that all the tools that we have provided to the municipalities to help them to act and to act against the climate change. The municipalities have a very important role to play. So we have provided technical tools with, for example, a climate scenario viewer, carbon footprint calculator, where each municipality can see all the emissions of their mobility, the resident sector, their main industrial activities, so they can help them to plan and to define different measures. We have also published recently a climate adaptation risk assessment, where we define a unique methodology to evaluate the risks and our vulnerability in different sectors, places and ecosystems. No? All that tools must be accompanied with financial tools. In the last weeks, we have managed a grant for municipalities to develop and build concrete projects. We need to move forward and invest and have new things, not only work in planification, in knowledgements, getting information, but now we are in that step. And I agree with Mireia that one of our main barriers is the different administration, different competence that we have in the coast. National government, regional and local government. It's very difficult to coordinate the different strategies and the different objectives when you look at the same problem from the local point of view and from the national point of view. It's absolutely different. It's necessary to combine both aims, and it's really hard. It's really difficult to prevent our natural spaces. I think that everybody agree with that, but it's also important to preserve our economy sector. It's impossible to move forward if we don't look both sides. And it's necessary to apply environmental development criteria to maintain both objectives. But when we are 3 in the same game, it's not easy. It's really difficult to combine and to coordinate the 3 strategies and the 3 points of view.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because we see, in a way, Mireia kind of stressed the importance, for example, also of culture and kind of mindsets and kind of understanding. So obviously, the sharing of information we heard earlier, tools are very important. But I think it's very interesting from both of you, this message, we're in the Spanish pavilion about, we have a complex governance system in Spain, multi-level governance. And therefore, maybe we need to kind of, look deeper into this to see, how we can best share the responsibility, because ultimately it's people on the ground and sectors that are exposed to the impacts. I think also it's very important you raise the issue of finance. This is going to be one of the main issues, as we know. Yesterday it seems like they're moving forward on the loss and damage fund. But when we bring it to Europe and to Spain, we also will need to think about these impacts and the investments to prevent these further damages. And now we come to Adolfo.
Well, I will start from the end. I agree 100% with barriers that we have got in the governance.
Yeah.
Right. So, and Maria has explained it perfectly. So I just don't want to insist too much on it, but she has said it, and I subscribe 100% the words she has said. I want to talk about some of the good examples of implementation that we have, the good practices. From all the information that we have got, from all the analysis that we have done on our coast, now we have implemented all those in our planning tools. We call them dots.
Okay.
So in the planning tools and in the sectoral territorial planning as well. Yeah. So all this information is there. So exactly the same data that we have came out in our analysis is now
in the plans.
In the plans, exactly the same. So
in the urban and territorial
I think this is very important. Exactly in the same way as has been explained here, we have provided as well the municipalities with tools and with guidelines on what they can do, given them examples. And I think something that is very, very interesting, and I would like to share here as well, is what we have managed is, together with the employment agency, with the Basque Employment Agency, we are employing every year 30 young people with environmental degrees, and we are putting them to work together in the small municipalities where they don't have these capacities. So we are training them and we are explaining them, and so they are building as well their own plans, plans. They're implementing the plans to fight against climate change in the small municipalities. And I think this is working fine. Of course, what we're doing as well, we're doing for the last 15 years already, we've spent more than 70 million euros giving this money to the small municipalities, and to try to help them implement specific actions to fight against the problems that they're facing due to climate change. And of course, we are happy as well to say here that we are using as well European money from LIFE projects, from European projects, from Horizon projects to co-finance all this together as well with the with the money from the next generation money, to try to implement and to go fast into implementing all these solutions on our coast.
I mean, I think it's very. I mean, what I think I'm hearing, again, the kind of urban and kind of urban territorial planning also being a very, very important element, which I think comes also from what you're saying. I think what I also think is, for me, particularly interesting from the three of you, and as a scientist, I mean, I was with the working group 2 of the IPCC, it's really, really rewarding to see how you are taking the science and incorporating it directly into what you're doing, into adapting. I think that's like, good news in a way, because ultimately, as you say, particularly the very local level, the small municipalities that have an issue of capacity, and I think also, Adolfo, you raised a very important issue about skills. It's the year of skills in the European Union. There are neighbors, and I mean, many of you are not here at COP with us, but we're sharing the pavilion because we're part, with the Spanish EU presidency. And I think that also brings something you haven't mentioned, but I guess, there's a big undercurrent going on a COP on the role of youth, the role of skills, the role of training, the new generation that brings new ideas. So I think that's very, very good practices that we're hearing, and also that are kind of like some common themes, but also some differences where you could kind of learn from each other, which I think was raised from the very beginning. And I think we'll go on to the last question, which I think is the one that we wanted you to spend more time. It's just before Christmas, not that far. So it's your ask, if you wanted this program to continue, which obviously we've heard has been really valuable, and also really valuable the shared experiences that this idea that we kind of ground in this global goal adaptation onto the very regional, local level. what would you ask? What do you think would be, how could this program be continued and really help you with the risks and vulnerabilities you have actually really identified, and the sectors that you know are kind of now willing to possibly work with you to adapt?
Well, the Catalan strategy for climate change adaptation has the horizon 2030. And we have identified 312 different measures, most of them in the coast line. And to be developed, these measures, we need European, national, and regional funds. This is a fact. No, we have the knowledge, we have the strategies or the action plans. Now we need the money. We have not enough money to implement all this knowledge, all these planifications. For the time being, in Catalonia has created its own financial systems for climate change mitigation and adaptation. This was in 2017 with the climate change law, the Catalan climate change law, create 3 taxes to finance the climate fund. The first one is not developed yet, will be developed next year in 2024, is the tax on CO2 emissions from certain economic activities, the most pollutant activities. The second tax is the tax on emissions from large ships who enter in the harbors, in the ports, in the Catalan ports. And the third one is the tax on CO2 emission from passengers for the cars, no? Passengers cars, commercial vans, and motorcycles. This tax now has been in place for 3 years. These taxes, in the last 3 years, the Climate Fund has funded more than 250 millions invest in projects of mitigation and adaptation of climate change. 250 from Catalonia. This, I think, is a big amount in projects and with municipalities and universities too, and also we have a line of investment in companies to adapt to climate change. But I think if the climate change Catalan law create this fund, this financial system, it was partly due to the almost complete lack of financing from the state, from the Spanish state to the autonomous communities. And specifically the territorialization of the auctioning of emission rights, you know, the system, no? Which according to estimate in 2021, generated over 5 billion in revenue for Spanish state's coffer. 5 billion. Catalonia, 250 million. Spanish states, 5 billion. Can we imagine that the 50% of this amount of these rights of emissions of companies located in the different autonomous communities? Could we imagine that if the 50% of this revenue were to be used to implement adaptation and mitigation policies in the autonomous communities? I can assure you that the 312 measures of the Catalan adaptation strategy would be implemented. Then the message is for the state thing, no? Could you transfer only the half of this money, of these rights, of emissions to the autonomous communities, because we have the knowledge and we want to do more projects based with nature-based solutions in the coastline, and we need this money because the European funds are important, and the own funds, the own financing is important, but it's not enough.
Yep. Thank you very much. I think it's important for those of you that are not, don't know so much that we have a complex governance system, but also even like we have the EU law, a Spanish law, but also, as you said, there's a Catalan law of climate change, also the Basque. So I think, it's very important that you're strengthening that. And also, your message is important because that's actually coming out of this COP as well, the need of money to adapt. And also, as you said, how is that money kind of shared or distributed, on who has the impacts. So I think that's a very strong message, and I think, that will be noted down. But that's the whole point of being here, I think, putting forward, ideas of what we have to do with this new program, and the need, what I'm hearing is the need of kind of really large investment now into implementing these measures, because you've identified the risks. So Maria, in your case, what is your ask? What would you...
Well, I think that the same, no? All the regional government have moved forward. We have worked very hard in this, having a legal framework. We have also an Andalusian climate change law.
Yeah.
We have worked a lot in planification tools, technical tools, but we haven't enough money. Only, I mentioned before, for the years 21, 22, in our budget, approved, we are carrying on these measures, 1.7 million, but only in the activity of the regional government.
Yeah.
There are other sectors that need to be financed. Actually, we have had the PIMA Cambio Climático, a develop of this PIMA Adapta Costa, more general for adaptation measure, but Andalucía, the most populated region in Spain, we have had only 1 million euros for 786 municipalities to promote projects, municipal projects in adaptation. We have managed that grant only for municipalities. We have had money enough only for 4. Logically, we have put some conditions, of population, but we need more money, definitely. In Andalusia, well, in all the country, but we have a severe drought, we have water scarcity, and we need to invest in infrastructure for supply other water resources, recycled resources, for our agriculture, for our industry, for our tourists. We are working in that, we are investing in that, but we need more. Another clear sector that needs finance is the waste management sector. In Andalusia, in our plan, in the diagnosis, we have seen that the third focus of emission of greenhouse gases is the waste sector. So we need to improve in in the management of the organic waste, in the separate collection and the management of that waste to avoid the emission that is generated. And there are other multiple sectors that need concrete action, concrete infrastructure, concrete investment that we have identified them, but we haven't enough money to afford all that. Not only Junta Andalucía, but also private sectors, industry sector, and municipalities. We always say that to face the climate change, we need the collaboration on all the society. Private sector, companies, administration, and also the society. There are a lot of associations that are doing a very important job for against the climate change. For example, all the associations that collect food and avoid that it will finish in the landfill, for example, they need also money. So all the sector and all that needs are identified. So we would like to ask to the national ministry, to the national government, to financial tools, different kinds, to be able to reach the objectives. So, if not, it's impossible. We will still working in planification and collecting information, defining needs, but it's necessary to move forward and invest.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing, which is very interesting, is the way the diagnosis is there now. You know what hurts and you know what needs to be done, and now you're ready to basically to do. I think it's also very interesting. You also raise, I think, also the role of the private sector. We sometimes forget also. There's a big discussion also going on about the needs of adaptation. Public money will not be enough. In terms of what we need is the challenge. But I think also, Maria, you raised something that I think moving forward is very, very important, which is the fact that increasingly mitigation and adaptation have to shake hands. I mean, for example, the circular economy is an opportunity also, to at the same time, do mitigation and adaptation. When you do these transformations of economic sectors, so you make them more resilient, but at the same time you make them more sustainable. So I think that's actually very interesting.
Yeah. Excuse me, I find very necessary too to invest in investigation.
Yeah.
And formación, no me sale la palabra. Training. Yeah. It's necessary to. We have identified the problem, but we need to present closer the solution.
Okay.
What everyone we do. Yeah. Each one in our place, like a private company manager, or as an individual citizen, or whatever we are, we can always do something, as little as possible, as big as possible, but everyone can contribute to fight against climate change. And for that, it's necessary to invest also in communication and in training.
Okay. I think that's, obviously, I think that's actually a very strong message. I think that it's not just about funding infrastructure or but also investing in people as a key element of adapting to climate change and preparing. And knowledge is never a waste of money, if you think about such complex issues that we're facing with climate change. So I think two asks then we have at the moment, kind of additional funding and also how think with the multi-level governance, how complex, but still the clear demand of more money, but also how we spend that money. It also that has to go also into people, into investment, into training, and Adolfo, you've got the last word. Because we're now entering the very last 10 minutes of the event.
The good thing of talking the last one is that everything has been said already. But no, I agree that, first of all, we have to acknowledge and we have to be great, to show our gratitude to the ministry on how they've pivoted and gathered all the communities with one methodology and doing a lot of work. But once I've said this, the thing that we are missing is continuity. Okay. We need to continue with the political and the technical tables where we can continue discussing all together the different issues that we are facing, right? We know that we need money, all of us. We need money to implement all the solutions that we have in our portfolios, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we know as well, and this is a fact, that the more time it takes for us to take this solution, the more expensive they will be in the future. Mm-hmm. So we have done a thorough analysis, and we know now at the moment that we don't need to retreat. Mm. We can adequate our infrastructures and protect them. Okay. We still are in time to protect them. If we don't do this now, we will have to retreat, and the cost of retreat are unbearable. Right. We won't be able to pay for all this. Yeah. So this is important, and we need to activate the table. This is our main thing. We have done a fantastic work. All the communities, we know exactly where we are at the moment. We know the vulnerability, the risks that we are facing, but we know the ministry to continue with this. Yeah. And when we say that the ministry has to continue with this, it's politically and it's technically. And they have to be our loudspeakers as well in Europe, because we know that we will find funds somewhere else to try to accomplish all the tasks that we are facing, and that we are now thinking that we haven't got the time, we haven't got the money. We are really, really scared on how we are implementing all of these things, right? Yeah. So we need definitely the ministry. This is our plea here, to take again the lead, the ministry, and start working together. And the other thing is that Of course, solutions that are being implemented in Catalonia maybe are different because they don't have the tides that we have got in our region. The regression of the coastline is going to be different. But I'm sure that with Andalusia we can share things in the Atlantic coast with our coasts, and we can. They are doing a fantastic work in the blue carbon with blue carbon experiences. We need to learn from them. We need to stay together and see us more often, and to try to learn how they're implementing this and what results they are getting to go faster and cheaper and to be more effective and efficient, both at the same time. So we need to work together definitely and learn from the experiences that we are generating in our own land, in our own territory, and give them to the others. I mean, we are doing tools in the Basque Country, in Andalusia, and maybe we can share them and learn and give the tools to Andalusia and get their tools and then implement them and take them and improve them and give them back. So try to work together, really work together. This is our plea.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, just summarizing what Adolfo was saying, I think I hear one very important message, which is really important, is the urgency. The urgency because, as it was said, we have a window of opportunity that is rapidly closing, right? And as Adolfo said, if we don't act now, the costs will actually exponentially increase, right? So there's an urgency of really mobilizing these funds as soon as possible. I think I also heard something very important about continuity. We all live in our country, it's been turbulent times in a way, but, we trust, in a way that this still we have to continue the pace, right? I mean, this is because otherwise the risks on the table are really, really enormous. And I think also again, I mentioned that we have the EU, very important message about, the ministry kind of representing us when they go up to Brussels. Of course, we have the European elections coming up. The multi-annual financial framework will be negotiated. So maybe that will be an opportunity to kind of ring-fence more funds for adaptation, because we already know and we have the numbers of what we need. And I think the last I think was also really a very interesting ask, because I think to me it's kind of this idea of learning, shared experiences. The fact that we should kind of value a lot more the diversity we have in our country, the different climates, different cultures, and in a way kind of make sure that we can learn from each other on our experiences, as I said, the blue carbon and, the work that's being done. Catalonia, you have an important industrial sector, in the Basque Country also, So I think this idea that you can share and learn, if these spaces are provided where, bridges can be built, between communities to adapt to climate change, and share that responsibility. And kind of putting my hat as a Climate Pact ambassador, where basically volunteers, civil society, I think that's exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for leadership, from you and from, in a way, you and people above you, and so that then we can move forward in adaptation. I think I'll say one last thing. We probably, in a way, didn't probably talk enough about nature-based solutions, but to me it was kind of inherent in what you said. I mean, I know, for example, Maria, you kept mentioning about protecting the your landscape, your natural heritage, and the sediments. The same with Mireia. You were talking about how important your coastal environment is, and the Delta del Ebro, a super important global wetland, of importance in Ramsar side, and the same, in the Basque Country, where you're already using nature-based solutions as part of your adaptation program. So ecosystem-based adaptation would be my ask that we include it also in the future in your plans. With that, thank you very much for being here with us, and I encourage you to attend many other events that will be hosted in the Spanish Pavilion that is now bringing the world here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nos quitamos.